Welcome back, and today we are going to be flapping our jack in the XF5U. This plane is pretty unconventional and I think it's perfect as a reward vehicle, but not because it's great, but because it can give you some indecent exposure whenever this prong dick comes out of the back of your plane. I'm not entirely sure what they were cooking with this one, because the entire plane sounds about as horrendous as the name implies. The Flapjack is nothing short of hot ass. Now at super high altitude you have some potential, the engines are pretty decent, and because of the low IAS nature of this plane, it's honestly pretty decent up there. The issue is that in Araby this never comes into play, and what you are looking at is a plane that doesn't climb particularly well, while also being absolutely useless the second anyone gets above you. Now it does have some gimmicks that I'll show you right here against level 20 players, because that's really the only way you'll ever survive. We're going 600, I'm trying to pick up a little bit of speed in a dive to make sure that I'm actually able to dodge his rounds. I'm still going 600, I'm being very gentle on the stick, but at one point you need a stamp on it, because at this point we're essentially flying straight into his guns. This plane is a stall fighter, not because it's good at it, but because it's all it can do. We try to go up, and the low speed control is honestly pretty fantastic. So in these kind of scenarios, when they do arise, it's great, but the only reason I can hang with the D9 in this manner is because the D9 throttle dropped to try and stay behind me and basically played into my one strength. The firepower is luckily pretty decent. We have 6 late war 50 cals directly next to the nose, so the firepower is nice and compact. It's nice and converts, and when you do get your guns on someone, most of the time you will get more than just 3 50 cals to hit the enemy. Now you might think, if I do get above my enemy, do I then just immediately win? Still no, actually. You need to play this very carefully, and while you can pounce on someone and honestly just completely shred them in a moment's notice, because when you do choose to collect all your speed for a shot, you very often will get the shot. But if you decide to mess up that approach, you are energy trapped. And if you are in a situation where the enemy has enough speed and holds its speed, just sit at its own altitude, wait for you to come down and go head on with you, you are basically always forced to merge like this, because if you merge in the head on, you are going to die. You need to energy trap them before you start turning, and you want to keep this plane as straight as you can, because the second you start turning, even though you might start with 700 kilometers an hour, they will energy trap you incredibly quickly. Now here I choose to collect my energy at the correct moment. The enemy makes a mistake by stalling himself out, and it's the same thing right here. These are ideal situations against enemies that are doing exactly what we want. I'm diving on him. We are going about 760 at the end of this dive. The nice thing here is that the retention is so bad that we can just kind of stamp on the elevator for a second and lose like 20 kilometers an hour. We merge with him, and before we really start turning, I'm just going to go into a straight line. I'm trying to get as far away from this guy as I possibly can. He's lining up the shot, he's shooting stealth. I need to move a little bit because this target is massive. And that's not the only thing that's massive. It's again the speed bleed. We went from 750 to 300 in a singular loop, and we're now at a kilometer. Now luckily it's a D9. He didn't really play it correctly, and we are able to just instantly punish him. Here we have a TU2, and the TU2 will be able to run you down pretty reliably. Now he turned around a little bit early and he caught me with my pants down, so I'm setting up for a reversal. We go into the dive, we pick up a little bit of speed, so we have some energy to work with to actually dodge his guns. You can tell that he delays his attack, putting me out of position. He almost gets the shot in. Luckily we timed it correctly, so we're able to reverse him with this incredible low speed control. The energy bleed on this thing literally makes it borderline unplayable, and while you might have some cards in your hands when you are above someone, the second you go defensive, you're basically shit out of luck. In this case we have an LA11 on our 6, who is also one of the worst props at 5.3, but when you realize that planes like the P38K are at 5.3, you just know that the balance is completely out of whack. The LA11 comes in, and I need to make sure that I dodge his first shots, and then hope that he does the thing that allows me to kill him. So we turn in here, we try to go down again to pick up a little bit of energy. And if he simply disengages at this point and doesn't even go for the shot, go up and come back down, I'm useless. I'm going 300. I line up the shot, but look at the speed that he carries over me. I got incredibly lucky by setting him on fire immediately with a single 50 cal. And that's all she wrote, but it's only because he flies perfectly straight. He approached me in a bad manner, and he allows me to shoot at him while he is typing. If he just dodged me a little bit and went up, I'd be dead. G55 comes in, and while this thing might not go over 400 kilometers an hour if the radiators exceed 1%, the G55 is a formidable foe versus this thing because it actually maintains its energy decently well. It's not super fast, and it climbs pretty decently while having a lot of guns. We dodge his rounds at the exact right moment, he overshoots underneath us, and as I am aiming my guns, look at my airspeed. I try to line it up, I get some shots in, I get some hits in, and I'm lucky that he tries to go into a bit of a scissor, because that allows me to just keep my guns on him while I keep just kind of floating behind him. He is going like twice my speed, but if you watch my defensive flying guide, you know that if you just kind of circle in front of someone against that slower than you, if you're just trying to scissor while being faster than your enemy, he simply is just going to have an infinite amount of shots. Look at his speed difference. He is simply going to fly away. This is a J7W. This is not a Yak 3U. This is not an LF Mark 9, an FU4B. This is a J7W. A plane that's not that great in its own right. And he has me completely energy trapped at the start of the game. Now luckily, he doesn't have object permanence and he instantly pitches up for the other Flapjack. So we can start jacking him off. We go after him. I know that the J2M is coming in, but I need to kill him right here. We managed to one-shot his engine, which is pretty ideal. The other Flapjack looks to be somewhat damaged as well. And that's another thing that the Flapjack is honestly pretty good at. With a caveat. Because it looks as unfortunate as it does, it means that you don't have wings. You only have wing roots. And if you know War Thunder, you know that you can't shoot wing roots off. Which means that this plane is basically unkillable as long as your engines and your elevators stay alive. This thing does not really die, and it basically always ends up being a severe. Now, does this mean that the plane becomes playable? That it's actually survivable? Definitely not. If you take any damage whatsoever, the drag will increase exponentially and the energy bleed will become even worse while losing rates of degrees when it comes to simply turning. Because right now it already feels like we sacrifice 15 kph per degree of turning if you get damaged whatsoever. Even if it's an orange wing root, I guess we can call it that, you are going to be looking at like 20 to 25 degrees or kph per degree. It is not an actual number, of course. I'm just pulling this right out of my ass, just like the Flapjack arresting hook. But this plane is a chore to play. It has its moments. It feels pretty good when you have to jump on someone and they do exactly what you want. But once people get used to this plane, it's like a zero without any of its perks. The only thing it has going for it is low speed control. And while you will always be at low speed because this plane is not realistically and not practically capable of holding its speed, the enemy can simply just play around this. A zero will absolutely rinse you. Now luckily this one decided to turn in front of me and get set on fire, and even with the damage that he sustained, he is a threat. And yes, if this thing gets down-tiered or if you are able to boom and zoom in a complete vacuum, you can make it work. It has its perks, but it's so limited against people that actually know what they are doing, and all they need to do is hold a little bit of speed of their own and then turn into the head-on. And the second you merge with them in a head-on manner and you need to turn around, you need to reset. You need to run away again. You need to create space. And if it's a complete 1v1, this might end up working out. If you're at high altitude and your enemy decides to stick with you at high altitude, it might end up working out. But these are things that aren't going to happen very often. You need a lot of energy over your enemy just to get a singular attack in. And it's something that you often don't have because half the lobby will be a kilometer or two above you. And the second you are defensive in this thing, it is just as unfortunate as this plane looks, unfortunately. Now the Zero here is completely out of energy. He's burning, he's crit. He just got done killing someone else. I still kind of struggle trying to kill him. Now let's take a look at some actual ideal gameplay where we can use the strengths of the plane in a regular match. Now we can dive straight in. We are going to third party the Spitfire VC. I need this guy out of the match because I know that this one will absolutely do me in something like a dogfight. The Yak Tree does also do this, but at least the Yak Tree is fast. It's able to overshoot and it's slightly more prone to mistakes. Now normally I wouldn't say that necessarily because the Spitfire is a bit of a free kill. It's completely over tiered. But in this case, with the Flapjack, something like a Spitfire will always completely demolish you. Something like a Yak Tree is slightly less of a threat. Now, of course, if it's played by a good player, the Yak Tree is going to be the more dangerous plane. But you have less options and it's easier to make the Spitfire work against the Flapjack. So we get 2 kills, we instantly disengage, and we're just looking around to see where everyone is going. We have an A6M3 at high altitude. I don't really want to deal with him. And we have a Spitfire directly behind us. Now the A7M looks to be completely out of his depth with the LA7 that's about to just completely pounce him. And we just turn around and go for the Spitfire that is engaging the F8F that looks to be incredibly hurt. So I'm hoping that the Spitfire chases him back down to the deck. And he does a little bit, but unfortunately he doesn't have the retention that we do. So him leveling out and flying directly at us actually means that he has us energy trapped if I want to do anything. If this guy merges with us, I'm forced to fly straight and not touch my controls until he starts shooting at us. So I get some shots in because he dodges the head-on in properly. I notice that he doesn't actually turn in, so I'm just gonna turn back in for the head-on. I'm going way too slow. I know that I can still get the first shot at that very moment. But if you merge and you turn at the exact same time, what's going to happen is you might outturn him for the first second. You might pull 60 degrees for a second, and then you pull 10 degrees for 5 seconds. Whereas the Spitfire will just continuously pull 20 degrees. And after 2 or 3 seconds, he will catch up. He will continue to turn. He will get his guns on you. He will have a stable platform and he'll have cannons. Now the good thing is that in a head-on, this thing doesn't really die and you can probably keep your guns trimmed on him while your entire plane disintegrates, and you might saw off his wings. You might set his engine on fire. You might do all sort of things that will give you the kill. But your match at that point is going to be over. You are damaged and your plane will be completely useless. Now, yes, I can hear the argument, but you can choose when to cash in your speed and you can stand on your elevators and on your engines, and that is completely correct. The plane can hover and it can give you some funny situations. It gives you some quirky usage of a plane. It's definitely unique, and maybe we'll find some tech along the way that allows you to just absolutely dumpster people, but nothing beats energy and or turn rate, and you need to have one of these things in order to fight. And while you can stand on your engines, do the funny stall, if your enemy just flies away or simply does a flat turn and doesn't allow you to one circle, what are you going to do? It's like fighting a helicopter without missiles or without its chin turret that can aim for you. You still need to put your nose on the enemy in order to kill them. And in this plane, if your enemy knows what they are doing, even if you have 700 kilometers an hour on them, if they merge properly, you have no answer whatsoever. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you all very much for watching me flap my jack, and I'll see you in the next one.